Day out in the country for the Nissan Classic. As the 98 runners leave Shannon here, they go down the road past Bunratty Castle. Then there's a Category 1 climb before they reach Limerick, on through Tipperary town, the Glen of Ahar Low, that's Category 2. And then they move up the main Cork road, passing on their way Mitchelstown, Fermoy, and finally to Cork on a new circuit there. There's 111 miles, there's 5 hot spots, and there's 3 climbs. And that's the format for day 4. But up at the top, it just couldn't be closer. First of all, you've got Malcolm Elliott with only 2 seconds advantage over the great Sean Kelly. Van der Poel is just a further 2 seconds behind. Early up a place from 8th to 7th, and of course Stephen Roche up a place from 10th to 9th.
Malcolm, there's a few people here saying this morning that wearing the yellow jersey is the kiss of death in the Nissan Classic this year. 2 leaders, 2 punctures. What do you say?
That's right. Well, I'm just busy doing last-minute checks on my bike at the moment, seeing there's nothing can go wrong.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I've never known it, and it has made me think twice about it. Obviously, I'd rather have it and lose it than never have it at all.
Rolf, you're getting closer to the yellow jersey. Do you still feel confident?
Yes, it's all open. The race is open. It only goes for the bonifications at this moment, and it's other sprints that make the difference. And I hope that I can also win a sprint, possibly for the stage win or so. But we must see. We are very close together.
Adri, apart from Sean Kelly, you're the most consistent rider in the Nissan Classic, and there's a lot of people here this year saying that you're going to win in Dublin tomorrow. What do you say?
I hope so.
Will you try for the win?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Because for me it's a nice race to win, because it's the 4th time I've been here. The first time I was 2nd, then I was 6th and 5th. And I hope for me this time is a good one to win it, because every race to win it's very important.
With 5 hot spots today, I mean, can you possibly try and attempt to go for all 5 of them, or is that too damaging?
Well, depending what the other riders do, I suppose, but depending on where the race develops and everything, it's possible they can make all 5.
Now, you were a little bit critical about the first hot spot being very close to the start.
Well, yeah, it's very close to the start, and if you start a bit far back in the bunch, well, then it's very hard to get up in that distance. But yes, the hot spot is on, and you just have to try and make it.
What about these special sprints? Because you and Sean Kelly always seem to finish up deadly rivals in the Nissan.
That's true. I think these hotspot sprints, I shall really see how it goes, see who else is disputing them. I won't be trying to go for every single one of them myself, unless I'm forced into it. And there are 5 today, so it's going to be very hard. Even just to, it's going to be like a sprint for the finish 5 times already today. So.
Today's stage from Shannon here to Cork is going to be a very, very vital stage. For Sean Kelly, I don't think he can really relax. He's got to go for every bonus point he can get. And only just 1 mile after the start, we've got our first hotspot sprint, so it's going to be a very, very hairy sprint. Elliott's going to be up there, Kelly's going to be up there trying to take those 3, 2 and 1 second bonuses. All the way along the route, it's going to be a similar situation. So anything can happen today. Kelly could end up in yellow this evening, or he could wait and try and do it tomorrow, but he's got to take every opportunity he can get.
And the first opportunity that Sean Kelly gets is just 1 mile from the start, and the first of those hotspot sprints right in Shannon.
And already one rider in trouble there, but the race is very much on now as they switch across the carriageways here. The first hotspot sprint, never before in the Nissan has the opening sprint of the penultimate day been so important. Malcolm Elliott, by the way, takes that. That's a 3-second bonus for Elliott, and Eric van der Orden will have been second. There's confirmation.
And it's Elliott, and that's just exactly what he wanted to do. He needs those bonuses badly to consolidate his lead in the yellow at the moment.
And now, as the race rests from that first sprint, it looks here as though Sean Yates, Pat, is going clear. Now, this is a specialist attack by Yates. He does this so often.
He does indeed, but we've seen him do it before last year going into Tralee. He took off early at the stage and won the stage.
What's happening here at the back of the race? Because it looks to me as though there might have been somebody falling off here. It was a very short right-hand bend, and somebody's on the... My goodness me, it's Stephen Roche, Pat, on the floor.
Yes, let's hope he's okay. There's a very sharp hairpin bend at that stage, and obviously Stephen rubbed the wheel and down he went, and he certainly looks a little bit hurt at the moment.
Well, this has been a year for Stephen Roche, hasn't it? He spent a lot of time on the floor, Liège-Bastogne-Liège, of course, his big comeback race after his knee problem this year. He was involved in all the sorts of problems there. And after last year, you know, it really is so disappointing for Stephen, but I know him so well, he will be back for sure. We're back with the leader now, and this is the first climb of the day, and Sean Yates leading by just over 2 minutes on the climb of Gallows Hill. Another, if I may say, a Pat McQuaid special. Pat, you must know Ireland so well.
Well, yes, indeed. No, it's this climb is about 5 miles long. Very much like a continental climb, not all that steep, and just goes up in stages really. And you know, problem with it is coming early in the stage as it does. The riders have only ridden 10 miles at this stage, and suddenly they face this 5 mile long climb. So Yates now settling into a nice rhythm and riding up as steady as we're looking at Roach here now, chasing in the race convoy, trying to regain his place in the field.
Oh, that's good to see. Stephen Roach, perhaps if he'd been abroad today, might have thought of retiring. He would never think of that on Irish roads, because Stephen Roach has done something that only one other man in the world's ever done, and that's win the Tours of Italy, France, and the World Championship. He did that last year. We're now back with the leaders here. They're chasing Sean Yates. He's heading up towards the top of Gallows Hill, but a little bit lower down. Interesting to note that it's the team of Rolf Goltz here, the Super Confex team, who are keeping this bunch very much in the action.
Yes, and they're obviously moving up the hill very fast, because we can see behind there, you can't see the team cars. The bunch is actually split into about 3 parts at this stage.
So Sean Yates then, a winner of the Tour of Spain stage this year, let me say that, and also a winner of a stage in the Tour de France this year. Inside 200 yards to go now. He'll get maximum points on the top of the mountains, but he's more interested now in riding clear of the bunch in defence of Malcolm Elliott, because he wants the rest of the race to chase him and take the pressure off overall leader Malcolm Elliott, his Fagor Eveready teammate. Over the top of the climb then for Sean Yates, zipping up the collar there. He's on the way down, but the main field here on the way up, and the scenery absolutely marvellous, with the backdrop of the River Shannon in the back of the picture there. Now 40 miles an hour down for Sean Yates here. Remember, this is the man who has set a record in the Tour de France this year for the fastest ever individual time trial outside of the prologue. And the whole field now cracking a little bit, I think, on the way up the climb. And Ireland in the autumn never looked more beautiful, Pat.
No, certainly not, as we're looking at one of the System U riders now leading up from Osby Marshall Guyant there in the Toshiba Top, the leader of the mountains classification, now going for that second place, and going for take the points on the mountains classification. Nobody really contesting that sprint.
No, you're right there, Pat. In fact, I think the referees will be getting a little bit annoyed here with Gayon, because he's refusing in the early parts of the day to wear the leader's jersey. He's already been warned for that, and here he comes now. He's not wearing his leader's jersey. He's over the top in second place. Anderson looked to me as though he was third. Maybe Leven was in fourth place.
And indeed, Marshall Guyant has very much made the mountains his property. Roach coming through there. We're delighted to see a very quick recovery, showing what a true professional he is. And there's confirmation of that Gallows Hill climb. You see Guyant in second place, Phil Anderson and Levine. Those are the two riders who've had such bad luck on this event.
Interesting, though, that as we now head into Limerick, that Sean Yates here is still clear. We're back where we started from this morning, of course. The race overnighting in Limerick went out to Shannon this morning, and now they are back to Limerick on the way going towards Cork. Yates is still clear, and we've seen him ride so well this year in defence of everybody else in the Fagor Eveready team. We go right back to the Paris-Nice this year, Pat, where he was the leader, and now he's doing it again, now in defence of Malcolm Elliott.
Yes, he just took that hotspot sprint there in William Street in Limerick now, so we're looking at the group going down the descent down off Gallows Hill.
So look at that line there. The riders, what's happening here? Sean Yates, I think, Pat, he's had word from his team manager, that's the car just on the right of our picture here, that he is being caught, and it appears that the energy will not be wasted because it's a long way to go. Sandwiches out the window, Pat, for the rest of the day.
Yes, a little bit illegal actually, because he's not supposed to get them only in the feeding sections.
I'm not sure he even likes what he's getting. But there he is, he's waiting for the whole field, and there's Alan is the result in Limerick.
Well, of course, Yates was well ahead there with the 5-point bonus. Van der Arden making the sprints more or less his own property, as Gayant has done in the mountains. But interesting to see Gayant up there in that one.
Right, now the whole field together, and Sean Kelly's teammate, I think it was Thomas Wegmuller, in the lead. What's this? Tipperary welcomes the Nissan and the world. Never truer than this year, Pat, after 4 years, because this has got to be the best field ever seen.
It certainly is. Riders from, as it said there, from all over the world in this year's Nissan. As we're looking at the riders now coming up towards the hotspot sprint in Tipperary, a little group at the front of the bunch now trying to detach themselves from the front of it.
And there's 4 or 5 riders down there, but I don't see, in fact, at the moment, any of the contenders. Malcolm Elliott's made a good start to the day, picking up 3 seconds over Sean Kelly at Shannon, but this sprint doesn't contain any of the top men overall. Indeed, it's Dave Mann from the Rally Banana team here who takes it first over the line. So there they are, the race goes on.
Dave Mann then confirmed, and a few new names in that one, so that was rather surprising really, because these hotspots are so critical at this stage.
So the field is all together now as they continue over the sprint here in Tipperary, but the next stop now for the riders will be the famous Glen of Aherlow climb, and that's next on the agenda today as the riders roll on towards Cork. The weather is now very cold and we've had showers of rain, and I have to say the weather is most unpleasant today for the riders. They've had 3 days of being battered by the weather, a brief respite yesterday as we rolled down towards Limerick. We're back to the cold weather today, and look at this, the riders wearing long arm warmers, and the jersey there in the centre with the white and red marks on it is Marshal Gayant, at last in his true colour as the overall leader in the King of the Mountains.
Yes, indeed. And riders now on the climb. This climb, the Glen of Aherlow, only about a mile and a half, 2 mile long. Not very steep. Again, a nice steady climb, wooded for the most part, and riders riding up it nice and steadily. Martin Early leading the group from Marshal Gayant, Phil Anderson there in the yellow hat, and on the right it looks like Johan Lammerts of the Toshiba team also.
So there we are, the wind also rising a little bit now. In fact, it's coming right on the face of the riders here, and if you remember the opening day of the Nissan Classic, that kept them down to a slow pace, and one must say, why not? Look across now, the beauty of Ireland. We're back down now with the leaders of the peloton, the big bunch here, as the French call it, and working hard. On the left of the picture there, just peeping into the camera, is Eric van der Arden, who seems now to have made the sprint section at least his. What a great day out tomorrow we're going to have around Dublin City, though, because that will really be a celebration, not just for Dublin, but for the coming home of the Nissan Classic. In the middle of the picture on the climb then up the Glen of Aherlow, we've got the climber Marshal Gayant, who's celebrating his best season in his career as a professional as he moves towards the top now.
And we're looking at a good shot there from behind of one of the Wyman Swiss riders there with his legs covered up, indicating the cold that they're going through today. Another one of his teammates there looks like Nicky Reutemann of the Wyman team, one of the Swiss riders in this event.
Well, this is a new team, of course, Pat. Cost over £2.5 million to put on the road this year, the La Suisse Wyman. They're changing sponsors, in fact, next year. But Steve Bauer, who leads that team, back in action next year. Now we're working our way steadily up to the top of the Glen of Aherlow, and it looks to me as though the Toshiba boys working very hard. Inside 200 yards to go now for their man Marshal Gayant. All being well tomorrow in Dublin, surely Marshal Gayant, the man on the inside in the white jersey, and Jos Lammerting here nearest the camera. We're going to see Gayant as the winner of the King of the Mountains tomorrow. He will work hard tomorrow, I'm sure, but he's riding so well today. He seems to have shrugged off the challenge being received by Adrie van der Poel, but he was certainly pipped on the line there by Phil Anderson. And we'll get confirmation of that very shortly from Alan.
And how nice it is to see Phil Anderson getting a bit of glory out of that after all that hard luck yesterday. Gayant, as always, in the frame, and Galt's coming up there in third place. That could be important.
Well, we're off the Glen now, heading down into Mitchelltown. This is the scene of the next hotspot sprint. and it's led by Tim Harris. Here's Sean Yates, the breakaway earlier, back in the bunch in second place there. Always attentive, Pat, looking over his shoulder, the whereabouts of Malcolm Elliott, I suspect.
Yes, certainly. He's a terrific man to have on a team with you, is Sean Yates, one of the best teammates that you can have. But news has come through now from the race that of the retirement of Steve Bauer at the feeding station. Bauer ill overnight, suffering from a very bad cold. The conditions just got them today, and he's retired. And as we're looking now, Sean Yates leading out the sprint, obviously for Malcolm Elliott. Malcolm Elliott won't be far behind, with Yates leading out up the street of Mitchelstown.
And so Elliott coming up towards the line and in Mitchelstown. This is going to be a good sprint because Malcolm Elliott building steadily his lead. Look at this now, the white jersey on the left of the road. That's Eric van der Aarden. He's also making this championship his own. He's over the line first. Well done, Eric van der Aarden. And there we are, and look at that.
And that's really significant because Elliott once again has gained another second on Kelly.
Absolutely. So Malcolm Elliott is making the best so far as we have a nice view across the countryside of Ireland.
Yes, so we're looking at the rain now coming down. One of the Scottish amateurs there. And looks like TVM rider there, Siemens I think it is, of the TVM TNT team. Paul Kimmage from Dublin now, showing a little break here now, breaking away. Henry Manders of the Wyman Swiss team now. This is on the climb of Cloughamara, outside Mitchelstown, and these riders now, 8 or 9 riders now drawing clear, only about 15-20 seconds clear at the moment. You can see the riders, the chasers here now, all well covered up from the rain.
And now we're seeing the rain coming down. The riders have been back to the cars, most of them for the racing capes here, because these are most unpleasant conditions. There is a little group going clear. We know that Rob Holden of the Bilton team is up there. We know too, as Pat has said, Henri Manders is there for the Wyman team, and Paul Kimmage of Ireland. This has been not a great year for Paul, but he's now beginning to fight back, and that is the way a professional cyclist must do it, and he must keep on trying. Now look at this. Here is the gap here. It looks to me as though we've got possibly here Hans Darms trying to get across the gap here. But as we go forward a little bit, one rider in no man's land, it is Hans Darms, is trying to cross the gap, relaxed style, taking in the breath deeply, riding on the top. This is Rob Holden here now on the top of the climb, and Brian Smith of Scotland in the blue jersey. Also going through there now, Henri Manders in the white jersey, Paul Kimmage on the left of the picture. An interesting group, this, Pat.
Yes, it is an interesting group because really there's nobody there that has a big effect on the overall classification. And if they get over the top of this climb and go down the other side and gain some more time, they could be away for the day, because the danger men behind, or the big men behind, possibly have nothing really to lose by allowing this breakaway group go.
Well, it looks to me as though possibly Darms has come on to the back of this group, but not too far behind. The whole field is fighting their way back. And this is the sprint for the top now. Rob Holden going here from the Bilton team. The find of the year in Britain, by the way. And Rob Holden now riding well. Manders is challenging him here. And a close finish there right on the line. Again, we'll get confirmation as soon as we can.
And it was Holden. Manders in second place, but it's great to see Kimmage up in third. That's the second time he's figured on the mountains in this event, and we've got 3 Irishmen in the top 10, and Paul Kimmage getting some good notice on the hills.
Now, the riders attacking fast and furiously here, but it looks to me as though the main field has crept up to the back end of this as we're heading now down into Fermoy. And Scottish amateur on the front there, I think again it was Brian Smith. He really is riding well this year. But as we go down now towards Fermoy, we've got the scene there of the next hotspot sprint. That, again, is desperately important for the riders who matter. But this looks like Simon's having a go from the TVM team. And look at the gap he's opening. He's not important to the race overall. This is what Sean Kelly wants to see, I would think, Pat.
Oh, I would think so. It would mean that if a rider like Siemens gets away, it means that the bonuses are being taken by the riders that don't really matter, and it stops Elliott gaining any more time on Kelly.
And just look at that now, the whole race under pressure. Long line now, but one rider is really going clear here as he works his way down the hill now. The conditions now very, very slippery indeed, calling for a lot more skill than just racing your bike. You have to have a lot of nerve as well now as the races go downhill at something like 45 miles an hour.
Yes, and these road conditions are treacherous at the moment, because when they get to the bottom of the hill in Fermoy, they cross over the bridge, and then they've got a very sharp right-hand turn. And a road will be, such as the condition it's in at the moment, will be absolutely dangerous because it's very, very slippy, and the riders have to be very careful going around.
Well, seeing the teammate here of Phil Anderson go clear, I often ask myself the question this week of what Phil is feeling like, having lost the stage, the lead rather, yesterday with that puncture, because I believe that Anderson is going so well. But here's now, we're coming up towards the line here in Fermoy, and the leader and the winner, no doubt, of that sprint will be Simons, as the rest of the riders come over the top.
And once again, the news is very good, because Elliott has again gained a second over Kelly, and this is exactly what he intended to do.
And Malcolm Elliott has now built himself a lead over Sean Kelly of 7 seconds as the whole field heads towards Cork.
Welcome back, and it's another city centre finish on the Nissan, and the drizzle hasn't deterred the thousands of spectators in Ireland's second city as the race arrives in Cork.
That's absolutely true indeed, Alan, but in fact, during the cold rain today, 8 riders at least have abandoned the Nissan Classic, and we're now looking down at the attacks which are coming towards the finish here. This looks to me, Pat, as though Pascal Pédemur of France and the Zeb Peugeot team is on the attack to chase this man here.
Yes, this rider, a Dutch amateur rider, attacked about 20 miles to go, just before Rathmichael. Joost van Adrichem, and his maximum lead he got was actually about 35 seconds. He's just been told there now from the car that his lead is coming down, that there's one rider chasing him, and that he really has got a lot of work to do if he wants to stay away on the circuit.
Well, if you want to be a top professional rider, you've got to put your nose out front and make an impression for the sponsors who may put up the money, and that's exactly what Joost van Adrichem is doing at the moment. He's an accomplished rider. He had 8 wins in the world last year. He is now probably in his last season as an amateur, thinking of next year as a professional. There he is, and the orange jersey of the Netherlands. They're quite infamous here in the Nissan Classic. Remember Johannes Dreyer, the great friend of Jimmy McGee, who's always been on the attack in the Nissan. He's in the race this year as a professional, and there they are now, the whole field streaming into the city of Cork for what should be another grand finale.
Certainly should, as we're looking at the Panasonic team now working very well together in chase. Obviously they want to keep the whole thing together for Eric van der Aarden. This finish today would certainly suit van der Aarden. A lovely big flat finish and straight as we're looking at the main field. The yellow there of Malcolm Elliott, we saw the green jersey of Sean Kelly. All the riders, all the main riders' contention up there.
So the whole field coming in here. There's Darrell Webster, number 100, the man who really was the hero of yesterday going into Limerick. Still in the main field now. His ambition very well achieved here in the Nissan. He's won a stage.
And as we're looking at the main field, just going along Horgan's Quay there and heading in towards the finishing straight, back now with the leader who's turning up into South Mall for the first time with 3 laps to go, and a great crowd here to greet him on this finish in South Mall. The first time we've used this, very much a feature of the Nissan in the past has been the circuit on St. Patrick's Hill. Moved away from it this year into a city centre circuit on South Mall, and certainly it looks to have been a very good idea.
Well, from an outsider looking in, Pat, I suggest you've chosen this circuit because of the popularity of the Nissan Classic. Simply too many people wanted to crowd up the finishing hill that we've seen normally for the finish here in Cork. And so now to spread it out a bit, and look at the crowd down there as they're seeing the whole race stream in now to the centre of the city of Cork. This has been a great finish. Cork has become a great finish on the Nissan Classic, and this is going to be no exception. The whole field now can see the 2 leaders inside. We caught a glimpse there of Pascal Pédemur. This is Steve Sefton having a go off the front now. He won the last stage of the milk race when we came into Birmingham, and the whole field now not too far behind him. Let's have a look now where we are. Coming up towards this, the back of the field here, and 1 or 2 riders now having a little bit of trouble here as they streak through the centre of the city. Back with the leader, Pat.
Back with the leader now, Van Adrichem, as he's heading up, just coming up from Proby's Quay, and now heading up just past St. Finbarr's Cathedral and around into Greg Road. Slightly rising section of the circuit here, and certainly telling on him now because he's starting to suffer a bit out of the saddle, trying to get every bit of effort into it. And as he heads out towards the lock, and he's still on his own, but still a very slender lead, only about 15 seconds at the moment.
He's a calm character though, Pat. I mean, I've taken a look at his face over this last 20 miles. He's been in the lead, he's never actually shown any expression on his face at all. And he stayed away from this very class field. There he is on the left of the picture now. And a great chase here by Pascal Peremore from the Z Peugeot Halfords team as we're going in now. We're working our way back down by the side of the lock there. And this is the bridging of the gap here. Look at this crowd. Let's say we're out in the country here at the moment on the circuit. And the crowd absolutely enormous.
Yes, all the way along this area now as we're going down Pierce Road. Wet and greasy and slippy, very, very treacherous conditions. These riders have to be careful on the bends, but they're getting great support from the crowd here. Terrific crowd along through Ballyfahan as we watch Peremore just making the junction with Van Adrichem. Now we've 2 riders in the lead and the main field only 15 seconds behind, and a very big chase going on from behind, as we can see, looking at the bunch in one long line going down Pierce Road.
Boys in green there, one of the Irish amateur riders. Remember that in due respect to them, this is their second team from Ireland, because of course the first team is over in Seoul where they completed the Olympic road race. But even so, this team more than accomplished its ambition here, because riding as an amateur against the top professional bike riders is really extremely daunting. But one man here having no trouble on the front is the young Irish amateur Joost van Adrichem. Now look at the whole field here. They're chasing down the 2 men in the lead. There is no gap. It's coming through to us now. The gap, in fact, along the Anglesey Street down towards South Mall is, in fact, a scant 10 seconds. And so a long gamble by the Dutchman, joy by the Frenchman. We're up into the home straight again. What will be the finish very shortly. But watch down that bottom corner, because the main field now, and here they come, is not very far behind indeed. This is now, remember the bonus seconds here. We can't overemphasize these bonus seconds. There's Malcolm Elliott, shadowed by Sean Kelly. This is going to be yet again a cracking finish. 2 riders in the lead, Pat, but only just.
Only just, and there's no doubt in my mind that these 2 riders are going to be caught, because there's far too much at stake. A bonus of 10 seconds for the winner, 8 seconds for second, 6 seconds for third, and 4 seconds for fourth means that these riders back here will want to hold those positions. They'll want to go for those bonuses. As we're looking at Mark Walsham from the Percy Bilton team leading through, Nicky Reutemann going through in second place, looking really now watching for the yellow jersey and the green jersey. The yellow jersey just at the head of that second group with Sean Kelly. Now back with the 2 leaders. Their lead a slender 10 seconds as they're heading up past St Finbarr's Cathedral again and back up to Greg Road.
So a final deep breath here for the Dutch amateur rider Van Adrichem, and being trailed by Pascal Peremore. He's had a hard chase to catch up with the Dutchman, the only man that's succeeded so far to get him, but he's not working so well as one might expect. And I must say, the Z Peugeot Halfords team, they would like a stage win here in Ireland at the moment, as we're running round the city of Cork now and seeing some of the most beautiful scenery.
Yes, it's certainly looking beautiful from the air at the moment. There's no doubt. St Finbarr's Cathedral there. You look at the riders go weaving their way around past them, and back with the 2 leaders. Van Adrichem doing most of the work now of the 2-man group, and let's face it, he's been away for the past 25 miles into a very strong headwind. So as you said just a moment ago, it certainly is great credit to him to continue to really dig in and go for the finish. But at this point in time, he's committed. He's got to go for it.
Well, there's a lot of danger here. Look at this now as they're starting to catch up now with the 2 leaders. As they came onto this circuit, we've just discovered that, in fact, Christophe Leven, the stage winner of a couple of days ago and the early leader, he has, in fact, crashed and is limping behind the race, and Charlie Motte, no less, has stopped to help him back home. So there's friendship for you. Charlie Motte, of course, the yellow jersey in the Tour de France 1 year ago. Now we're looking down on the River Lee as we swing back to the riders here. Still the 2 of them in tandem just in front of the whole field, and the whole field now, Pat, are going to get them, and that's for sure.
They certainly are, and I noticed going around at the front of the field 3 Panasonic riders. So obviously they're there doing the work for Van der Aarden, and this finish would really suit Van der Aarden very well. He's sprinting magnificently at the moment as we're looking at the ceiling sprint here now. Who's going to take the ceiling sprint? These 2 riders still slightly clear. Van Adrichem trying to go by Peremore and just takes it. Van Adrichem takes the ceiling sprint. Peremore second, and the main field only a mere 2 or 3 meters behind, led by the Panasonics.
And in fact, that was Teun van Vliet who came over there in 3rd place, but he's done his job. Teun has. He's brought the race back into contact. Remember, Eric van der Aarden won a stage in Galway a couple of years ago. Now he's back in the race again here, as there begin to be a few gaps at the front of the race here. The crucial last lap, Pat.
Yes, this hill up around by St Finbarr's Cathedral leading up to Greg Road is taking its toll on them, and what we've had at the front, I think, is a bit of pressure going on. One rider has gone clear. A couple of riders have taking a few chances, a few risks after him, and it looks like we could be getting a little group getting away now. Looking there possibly is the buzz now. We're trying to make our way up, and there is a gap. There's 2 riders clear, and now the helicopter fans up further up the road. Let's see, is there another 2 or 3 riders have a fit? Yes. 4 riders gone clear, and that really is significant now, because those 4 riders, if they get their act together, work hard together, only 2 miles to the finish, can stay away.
Well, I would suspect that Malcolm Elliott would like this gap to open with those 4 riders, but looking from the helicopter down there was a rider in green. Now, if that rider turns out to be Rolf Goltz, and you can see the rider in second place here, he certainly rides with the style of Goltz, Pat. If that is Goltz, that is the wrong man as far as Elliott and Kelly are concerned to break clear at this stage.
It certainly is, because Goltz is only a few seconds behind on the overall classification at the moment. I think it's 13 behind Malcolm Elliott at the moment, and it is Goltz. Rolf Goltz in the blue overshoes there, number 47. Goltz really driving at the front end. Rolf Goltz could actually be going into a yellow jersey here. He's driving for it and going for it.
Well, he's given us the hint this morning that he wanted to do something in the Nissan Classic, and he's the man on form, and this could really turn the classification upside down. He started the day a few seconds behind the leaders, and that's the place to attack from, as 4 riders now going clear, and the man to gain at the front, Goltz.
Yes, and look who else is in the group. Phil Anderson also in that group. Obviously, it was a question of taking risks. Anderson did the attacking, took the risks on the bends along Proby's Key, and is away. And Anderson now, let's face it, he should have really still been in the leader's yellow jersey, but his puncture yesterday put him out of that. It would be great to see him come back and take us another stage win.
The roads are wet now. Pat Goltz started this morning 13 seconds behind the overall leader, Malcolm Elliott. Elliott, of course, increased his lead a little bit with those sprint bonuses, but now Goltz, number 41, is working extremely hard. Johan Muziu from the ADR team there on the right of the picture, Goltz on the left. Michel Vermont is the other man. The man on the back is Phil Anderson. Anderson comes round the corner in last position. Remember Anderson? Last time he won a stage in the Nissan Classic, he won 2. This is Sean Yates jumping away here. He's in 5th place. This is the big sprint now, and going out the back of the race here is the TVM rider, Anderson now. Anderson trying on the outside. What's the right of the picture now? Phil Anderson going for 2 stages in the Nissan, and he thinks he's got it. Phil Anderson. Let's take a look at this again now. Anderson nearest the camera here, and he takes on Michel Vermont, no doubt about it. Anderson gets his 2nd win. And here the bunch sprint in 5th place, Sean Yates, the early attacker. Terrific ride by Sean Yates. And Mark Walsham takes the bunch sprint from the group, 21 seconds back.
So Elliott, Kelly and Van der Poel are the losers today as Rolf Goltz makes the break. Phil, at least that's some consolation for your bad luck yesterday.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed after yesterday, you know, and the only thing left to do was to try and win some stages. So there's only 1 stage left now, but it's, the last stage, it's very difficult to win. But yeah, I was very happy to win today. You know, I was fit for it, and I was always looking for the right moment to go. And then, you know, I was away with 3 other guys and got them in the sprint. So
2 stage wins on the Nissan can't be bad by anybody's book.
No, I'm very happy because, you know, this season has been fantastic, and I need every win I can get this year. So pretty happy with it.
Well, it was the 4th place man there, Rolf Goltz, that really gained out of that. All the other top contenders way 21 seconds behind.
I have the confirmation. The yellow jersey goes to Rolf Goltz of Superconfex. Takes the yellow jersey. Rolf Goltz.
Rolf, many congratulations. First yellow jersey in the Nissan Classic. Now, what about tomorrow?
It will be very hard for me because there are other hot points, and Elliott and Kelly are very fast in sprint, and I hope I can do something. I can get some bonifications and stay in 1st place.
Now, you know, there's only a couple of seconds in it, I think, but you managed to outwit Elliott and Kelly here in Limerick, in Cork on the finishing circuit. I mean, can't you do it again on the finishing circuit in Dublin?
No, with the yellow jersey, that's not possible.
Well, one wonders, will the yellow jersey be lucky for the West German? For Christoph Levine on the first day and Phil Anderson into Galway, it proved to be disastrous when those terrible punctures really let them down. And one wonders if Malcolm Elliott is not, in fact, quite relieved that he's not wearing yellow when we go to Dublin, as he will not possibly stick out like a Belisha beacon and a target to his fellow competitors. So Rolf Goltz, very happily, puts on the yellow, a very proud moment for any rider, and takes the applause of the Cork crowd. And once again, the flowers go flying into the crowd for some lucky admirer. And next we see the range of jerseys on the Nissan, all signifying their own very special achievements during the day. On the right, we have Van der Arden, the hot spots leader, in white. Then we have Goltz in yellow, Kelly in green as the points leader. Phil Anderson, the stage winner, and of course, Marshall Guillant, King of the Mountains. And there's the situation tonight. The overall position, Goltz is in the lead, Elliott second and Kelly third. Sean, it wasn't really a day that went according to plan.
No, it didn't go to plan. The real plan would have been to take the jersey today, but that didn't work out, and I wasn't riding well today. I felt that all week I'm not riding in the best of my form, but yesterday when I got into that position I said, well, I'll try and do my best today. And yeah, it was okay, and we got to the cycle. When Goltz made his move, I see it, but I wasn't able to react. I just hadn't got the legs.
Well, now tomorrow, Sean, it's still very much within your grasp to get the fourth Nissan victory, but you're going to really have to do the ride of your life up in Dublin.
Well, yes, I'm going to have to do a very good ride tomorrow. Hopefully that I'm riding better than I was today, because if I'm not, well, then it's going to be it's impossible. But I will, hopefully that I'll have a better day tomorrow, and I'll do my best, and hopefully that I can pull it off.
Well, Sean Kelly's family in the background at the grandstand are about the only ones left here in Cork, and that signifies that the action is over for today.
Hello, you're welcome to O'Connell Street for day 5 of the Nissan Cycling Classic, and a very special day for cycling and for the people of Dublin. It's the special Millennium stage of the Nissan. Over 90 miles of cycling to be done around the streets of Dublin and the county too, because the race takes it out as far as Shankill on the south side. It'll turn back to Dunleary, Blackrock, over the toll bridge and up to the north side, around the Hill of Howth, and then eventually back here to O'Connell Street for what surely promises to be a dramatic finish. So let's join the action then on the last day of the Nissan Cycling Classic with commentators Phil Liggett and Alan Tyndall.
And there's the general classification after 4 days of absolute total excitement around Ireland. As you can see, that Rolf Goltz has leapt to the head of the list, just ahead of Malcolm Elliott, who of course wore yellow the previous night. And of course, one of the people that have been privileged enough alongside me to be watching all this action right throughout those 4 days has been Phil Liggett.
Well, we have been in the process of the race now since we started at Donnybrook, 35 minutes. And in that 35 minutes, the riders have averaged something in the region of 28 miles an hour. So that's a very, very quick opening average speed. Because they are now, and the reason, of course, is because the leaders, or the hopeful leaders of this race, have attacked very, very early on, and they've caught 1 or 2 riders on the defensive, not least, I have to say, Sean Kelly and the race leader, Rolf Goltz. We've not seen any appearance in this front group of the race leader. That yellow jersey down there, by the way, is one of the Cass riders, and is certainly not Rolf Goltz from the Super Confex team.
And I think we're going to have an opportunity to talk to Pat McQuaid, who's right down there in the car with the race, and will have the whole feeling of what's happening. Pat, can you hear us?
Yes, I certainly can hear you, and there's a hell of a lot happening here. It's absolutely wild, this race is today. The speed has really been on, and as you can see now, they're going for this sprint. We saw Sean Yates leading it out, and Malcolm Elliott's on his wheel, and just behind him was Eric Van der Arden also. It's going to be a very close thing. Kelly's also up in the group, and you can probably see it a bit closer than I can. But here's the sprint now. Van der Arden won a odd spot sprint here 2 years ago, and it seems to be Elliott, Van der Arden. The yellow jersey's actually up there too. Yellow jersey, I think, took that sprint, which is a good sign.
Indeed, Pat, from our position here, it did look indeed as though the yellow jersey produced quite an extraordinary finish there to pip Malcolm Elliott. We'll wait for confirmation, perhaps from you from the race radio, as to who got third place. But there's a big surprise, Pat, isn't it? Because the yellow jersey has produced an extraordinary sprint there. Of course, we're not the judges, but it did look, Pat, as though it certainly was the yellow jersey of Goltz, who came from absolutely nowhere there to take that very valuable 3 seconds bonus.
And there's the confirmation of the first hot spot of the day, and we don't get another one, incidentally, until we get right back into O'Connell Street. Rolf Goltz gets 5 points, Malcolm Elliott 3, and Stephen Roach 2. Sorry,
That's
one.
quite right. But what the riders wanted, of course, were the time bonuses. And Rolf Goltz getting that 3 seconds now gives him an 8-second overall lead ahead of Malcolm Elliott.
All seem to be resting a little bit at the moment, Phil.
Well,
I would
yes.
imagine if Van der Poel could have had more up there, if he could get about 5 or 6 with them as he has now, that's just what he would want. And there he seems to be going with them now. He's trying to judge the situation. We've got another 3 now out ahead. Van der Poel has dropped back. So a complete switch yet again in this race.
Yes, and a very good 1-2 here by the Dutch Panasonic team, because as soon as Van Lancker was caught, the Panasonic boys have gone immediately on the attack. And that's the Panasonic rider now going clear. He's got a Toshiba man with him by the look of it, and I think that could even be Paul Kimmage in 3rd place there from the RMO team. 3 riders now trying to go clear, and nobody, funnily enough, helping out with the gap. We're now coming out towards the peninsula on the right there of the picture, up by Hoth.
So they can't be too far off the summit now, Phil. It's not a very long climb. It's a punishing one, but it's not that long.
No, and they're keeping a good rhythm up here too. Piper will want to do something today, I think, and he's gone away. And now he's on the right of the picture. There's Pascal Poisson from the Toshiba team. It's been not a very good season at all for Toshiba, of course, and even in this
Paul
race.
Kimmage making a big effort. There's the 200 metres to go flag. Wouldn't it be nice if Paul Kimmage could get glory on the King of the Mountains once again, and there he goes.
So Kimmage then going for the big points on the top of the first climb, and it looks as though Poisson chases him too, but Kimmage has found himself a new pair of legs this morning. Paul Kimmage now going for the line. He'll win the prize at the top because Poisson sat up. Kimmage, Poisson, Piper, that was the order over the top of the King of the Mountains there first time, but of course 3 more climbs to come here. And well done, Paul, because that's a nice piece of cycling from you, and I know it'll give you a lot of confidence.
And we're really travelling somewhat now. I mean, we must be up to about 45 miles an hour, I would think there. It's a very, very fast descent. It's not a particularly dangerous descent because it's good wide road. There aren't any really severe corners on the way down the far side of Hoth Head here. And the main bunch seems to be definitely using the opportunity to take a bit of a rest.
They are. These 3 riders now are going clear. We were talking earlier about combinations of riders trying to get the right combination to escape. And we've got a good combination here now, because it's safe to say that none of these riders here in the leading group threaten the overall leaders of the race. So they will be allowed their head unless somebody starts to counter-attack from the main field and the race gathers momentum, and gradually they'll pick them up. So Paul Kimmage has made a very, very intelligent move here. He's gone with 2 riders who are strong riders, known to be strong riders, and but not high up in this particular race.
And there we are. There's the situation as they came over the first time. As we know, great news indeed. Kimmage first, Poisson second, Piper, and then Early. Martin Early, another Irishman well up there. Gayant, we would have expected that, must be holding on to the polka dot jersey. Phil Anderson, we saw him out in the early group, well up to the 4 at Sutton Cross before they came into this lap. Van der Poel, Van Lancker, and Goltz was there as well.
Here they are, and Alan Piper leading Paul Kimmage from Dublin. And just behind him is Pascal Poisson of France. And they're on the... Is it the lower slopes of the climb again now?
Yes, they're just coming out of the village of Hoth and starting the climb now. And we've got confirmation of the overall positions in the King of the Mountain competition after that last run over Hoth Head. And of course, Marshall Gayant there once again in the points. And he now has a staggering 101 points compared to Adrie van der Poel's 81.
And we've got 5 men now trying to go clear on the climb. So it looks as though the reactions are going to keep on coming here. And Anderson is the strong man yet again. He is so annoyed that he has lost his chance of winning the Nissan Classic by a stupid puncture coming down the Silver Mines on the road to Limerick.
Poisson right behind him, and of course still there, possibly the most dangerous man of all in this trio, Alan Piper, the Australian. There we've got 200 metres to go. You see the light blue flag. And is Kimmage going to get it? They're bound to sprint, surely, for King of the Mountain points any second now. Still Kimmage, though, holding on grimly.
Now, will he go for it? Poisson at the moment doesn't seem to be too mercenary. Oh, no, having spoken, here goes Poisson. Second time over the top, and Pascal Poisson pips it this time. And it looks to me as though Paul may have got second or third, but it really doesn't matter, you know, because Paul isn't going for the King of the Mountains. He's going for the win, and that will stop him feeling any pressure now, having to keep on winning on the climb. This is the second group here now. And the white jersey of Eric van der Aarden. He's the fourth man from the right at the bottom of our picture. He's right in the centre of the picture now. You can see the Nissan insignia on the back. He's leading in the sprint competition, and he must be the least worried today. Phil Anderson moving up the outside there. Yeah, there he goes, Alan. I think he's just trying to get himself into a springboard position here to possibly try and pop out and take fourth place over the top of the climb, second time up.
Yes, he's in a beautiful position now. There he goes for it. Look, darts out from behind the second rider. He's leading the new bunch across the finish. Phil Anderson going to get fourth place in that King of the Mountains. And there he goes over the line. And we knew the first three. It was Poisson ahead this time. Kimmage and that three group. We've seen that right since they hit the Côte Circuit. But Anderson coming up into fourth place. Gaillant again. You can almost automatically type him in on these ones. Lavigne, there's the man that had such hard luck on day two. He wore the yellow jersey on day two. Rolf Goltz, the current leader at the moment. Van der Poel right in there. Dag Erik Pedersen, he's also been well to the fore throughout the week. And Sean Yates getting in the top 10. And interesting news, they're actually gaining. They're gaining rapidly at the moment. They're over 2 minutes ahead of the main group. 1:33 was the last read we had on it, and now it's stretched out to 2 minutes, and this is interesting.
Well, it is interesting because I'll tell you why. Alan Piper is in 18th place in the Nissan Classic, and his time gap is 5 minutes and 44 seconds behind Rolf Goltz, the leader. So over 2 minutes now, he's pulled back almost half of the time he's lost over the last 4 days of racing. Now, this gap may not go too much further. There they are. That's the group that's going to have to decide what they're going to do about this breakaway. They're a fair way back now. And as I speak, we're told they are at 2 minutes 47 seconds, and there it is, 2 minutes 47 seconds. So that means that they are now over a mile ahead of this group on the road. And the man out the window waving to us is Jerry McDade, the Scots assistant referee of the race, and he's indicating 200 yards to go for the leaders for the third climb up the hill.
Almost like a tank commander there in charge.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you know, the organiser of the Tour of Italy often does that and then put music to it one day. It looked as though he was conducting the orchestra. So it's one each now because Piper's taking this one. Piper is over the top in first place, so each one of them now, 3 climbs gone. They've all had 1 victory each, so they're obviously good friends at the moment. And so there's the helicopter shot again now as we're coming up towards the top of the climb with the main field. But I think, Pat, you're back with us on the way down the other side of the hill, aren't you?
That's right, yeah. We're going back down now in front of the leading 3, Piper, Kimmage and Poisson. And they're going down again 40-45 mile an hour all the way down to the east end.
Right, well, thank you, Pat. And by the way, our link up here, thanks to the Aircel telephones, they really are bringing Pat over to us absolutely crystal clear. There's the chasing group now going over the top of the climb. I think that's Marshall Gaillon who's snatched maximum points there, as we're now back with the leaders. And this little rise which follows the short descent, and this is a little leg ache, I think, this one.
There's the result of the third passage over Hoth, and as we saw, Piper took the honours this time. They've all taken it in turns of the 3 group out front. So Kimmage won the first one, Poisson the second, and Piper the third. And here they are. They're now, having turned the corner again at Sutton Cross, are heading back now this time into Hoth Village for the last time.
Well, there we are as we look down on the race here. There's the overall situation as of now in the King of the Mountains. Marshall Gaillon moves up to 107 points. Van der Poel holds his second place, but the gap coming down a little bit there. Phil Anderson in third spot and Christophe Leven fourth. Martin Early fifth. Not a lot of change, and in fact the gap's widening now with this overall classification, and there is only 1 more mountain to come in the Nissan Classic.
In the meantime, we're more interested to see who gets over Hoth Hill for the 4th time. It's a King of the Mountain points. They're beginning to speed up. They're beginning to go for it. Piper, for the first time, looking on his face a little bit of a struggle there. Paul Kimmage just working away. And, of course, it's Pascal Poisson in the third of these riders. And these are the 3 that have been out ahead for the entire circuit of Hoth on the 4 occasions that they've done it.
And they're doing it so quickly, and by my calculations at the moment, Alan, they're running almost on the best possible schedule of 28 miles an hour average, and that means they're going to be in O'Connell Street in just about half an hour from now. Can you imagine riding from here on a bike to downtown Dublin in just half an hour?
I couldn't.
Especially the way we're going, of course, up through Malahide and down towards Whitehall and in to do 10 laps of O'Connell Street. So it's going to be touch and go, and there's a real possibility at least now that these three riders will stay away at least till we arrive back in the city of Dublin and in the Millennium. It could be a Dubliner, of all people, of all the top riders in the race, it could be a Dubliner who brings the race into O'Connell Street.
Well, we keep our fingers crossed for that possibility. It certainly is becoming more of a possibility as mile after mile Paul Kimmage pounds it out there on the Hill of Howth. And this hill must get longer every time he comes up. We must be very close to the summit there, and in fact it was Poisson who took it again that time. Kimmage second, and in third place Piper.
Yes, and you see, they didn't actually sprint for it at all. They just, it was the changeover at the front, and Poisson took his chance, and he was over first. So he's won 2. The other 2 have won 1 each. The 4 passages now of the mountain are over. We'll now start the long, fast swoop down towards Sutton Cross, and eventually out then in a northerly direction up towards Portmarnock and Malahide. And the win for Pascal Poisson, second one out of 4 for him. Kimmage and Piper. Christophe Leven scoring well today, 4th. Marshall Guyon, now the winner of the King of the Mountains, he was 5th. Jean-Claude Leclerc, Bob Miller in 7th place, Rob Holden, Ian Saunders, and the ever-present Martin Early from Ireland in 10th spot.
Well, we're along the coast road between Portmarnock and Malahide, and I think we can get Pat McQuaid. Pat, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Alan.
Do you know the gap at the moment?
The latest gap we've heard is 1 minute 36 seconds, but there's a lot of activity going on behind. The yellow jersey has attacked, and he's chasing, so there's a big chase going on, and I do feel that this group are going to get caught, but there's no doubt they've done a fantastic ride up to now.
Well, we're just almost into Malahide, one of the old Martello towers converted into a house there we can see in the background, and the entire population of Malahide, I think, are about to turn out to see them. It's one of the prettiest towns in Ireland, always well up in the Tidy Town competition, second this year, and we're right along the coast. It's been a bit exposed for the riders there. And the interesting thing, of course, is that that gap is closing. It was down to 1:36 the last time we got a read of it.
And these are the chasing group. They look like a couple of Fago riders here, because that's the style of Sean Yates down there, and it might well be bringing across Malcolm Elliott, you know. It wouldn't surprise me here, because these are 2 top riders. Big man Sean Yates, he wouldn't go on the attack without Malcolm Elliott, and I think he's got Malcolm Elliott in his slipstream there. So Malcolm Elliott being brought back into this race with a vengeance, because overall Elliott is in second place and is only 6 seconds behind the yellow jersey, Rolf Goltz. So we've got 2 riders here making a significant contribution to the attack now. Here. The Grand Hotel looked to me to be just over there on the right, and Paul Kimmage, of course, will know exactly where he is. I'm sure he's trained on these roads during his riders here, and Yates is the man doing the work. And I'm not quite sure, I must confess, as to the tactic here by the Fago boys, because this isn't Elliott. He normally has his headband on, which means to me that this rider must in fact be John Carlson. And so we've got 2 Fago boys chasing. I think it's Malcolm Elliott, John Carlson rather, and Sean Yates. We're back now with the 3 leaders, and they are really quite unconcerned. They're not being disturbed by the chase behind. They are keeping their rhythm nice and steady. They're just hoping that things might settle down a bit at the back, and they'll continue to race ahead.
And there's the bunch behind them. So let's recap on the situation. 3 riders out front, 2 closing the gap on them, and then the bunch which you're watching at the moment. And all the top men for contention are in that bunch. And remember that they are Goltz, Elliott, Kelly, Van der Poel, Guyant, Early, Winnan, Roach, Miller. That was the order last night when they came into Cork. They have transferred, of course, from Cork to Dublin for this spectacular Millennium stage.
Well, we're back with the leaders here now. We're looking here at the face of Paul Kimmage, and what a face it is, because he's full of determination here. Don't forget now, we're heading down towards O'Connell Street, and I make our arrival not more than about 15 or 20 minutes away from the beginning of the big circuit of the city of Dublin. 10 laps to come there, but now the race behind is closing down. Now we're going to have a look here at Malahide Castle. What a lovely view it is today on this Sunday afternoon. And so were the three leaders here, and they're being joined by the two ever-ready boys. So they slow down dramatically here as the bridge is formed, Sean Yates and Johnny Carlson. And we now have 5 riders in the lead, and I would suggest now that Paul Kimmage will be a little bit relieved here, because Sean Yates is a very, very strong rider indeed. Just look at the determination of Yates, and with his teammates here, John Carlson, then they're going to find they've got 2 good men. And Kimmage not afraid to continue to work with these riders out front.
Welcome back. We're in O'Connell Street on the finishing circuit, and we still have this group of 5 which have successfully broken away. There are about 4 laps to go.
Well, there were originally 10, but these 5 riders come on to an enormous cheer. They were led onto this circuit by Paul Kimmage. This is Sean Yates here now. And remember, too, that 2 riders have caught up with this group, but in fact they are 1 lap behind as we go out now with 4 to go. That's Thomas Wegmuller and Keith Reynolds. They've merged with this group and have in fact gone slightly out in front. So we're looking now at the 5 men who matter in today's stage. In the big bunch to come onto the circuit now is still the yellow jersey, Rolf Goltzman. And has to say now, Alan, that Sean Kelly, I think, is going to find it very, very difficult now to regain those 15 seconds overnight deficit.
Well, to many that'll be a disappointment, but if you had to pick one of these 5 for victory here in Dublin today, which one would it be, Phil?
Well, Yates came across so strongly here with the ever-ready Fagor team, and he brought his teammate Carlson across as well. And what a shame for Paul Kimmage, really. But then again, it's helped this break stay away. Kimmage knew that he wasn't going to say, somebody's gone the right of the picture there, and it's Alan Piper who's flown out of this pack. Alan Piper, no reaction. Look at this. Kimmage is looking over and saying, come on, give me a hand, but nobody is reacting. And Alan Piper of Australia now going for home here. And this is a great break. He's a specialist at this sort of thing in the last few laps. And look at this now. Piper passing one of the lapped riders on the circuit. And this now leads into a little bit of confusion here, Alan, because there are now the whole race on the circuit and spread all around the lap of O'Connell Street.
Well, Piper came out of there like a stone out of a catapult. That was really quite incredible. He's looking back to see what damage he's done to that break, and it certainly has been very successful indeed.
So Alan Piper then, this will be great reward for Alan. Look at this face here as he studies now on concentrating on getting through to the finish. Winner of the Tour of Sweden in the past, a winner of the opening stage of the Kellogg's Tour of Britain a couple of years ago, race leader in Paris-Nice. He's done a lot of good things in his cycling career, but this is a special stage here in Dublin, the Millennium, and Piper now totally 100% committed here, going down O'Connell Street. Look at this now for the study of a man in action.
Well, when he comes back just about to that point on the far side of O'Connell Street, he will still have 3 laps to go, and that's quite a distance. It's just over a mile per lap here in the O'Connell Street circuit, but there doesn't seem to be anybody giving him any opposition at the moment.
He's chosen his move well, and don't forget that Alan Piper was in the original break of 3 with Paul Kimmage and Pascal Poisson when they broke away at the 29-mile point today. And really, when Yates and Carlson came up to these 3 and made 5, I thought that surely the winner was going to come from the 2 ever-ready boys. Here we are then, 3 laps to go for Alan Piper, and he's the one that's taken the bull by the horns here in Dublin. And look at his face now. There won't be any coming back from this one if those boys come up to him now. Piper will have no strength left at all, because he's going along O'Connell Street here. Enormous cheers, and one has to say an enormous crowd as well.
And this is the hard section that he's just entering now, because he turns off O'Connell Street to go right round Parnell Square, and it's the far side of Parnell Square where he gets that nasty climb. He's just preparing for it now. And there is the following bunch. As we can see, it's again a little bit confused because there are some lapped riders in there.
Yes, there are indeed, but that's Sean Yates who's bringing the group round now, and Hughes reaching us at the yellow jersey safely in this big pack, and time certainly now running out for Malcolm Elliott and Sean Kelly. So it does really appear, you know, we're going to see, some would say at last, a new winner of the Nissan Classic in Rolf Goltz. He's had a marvellous day. It's all worked out so well for him. He opened the day with that sprint win over Malcolm Elliott in the first hotspot sprint of the day, and since then the psychologies have worked out. He's watched all the breakaways go, not affecting his overall lead. There's Piper then going through on another group that will in fact be fighting out the 8th place on the race, and that included Brian Smith of Scotland, Steve Dowse there from the rally team, but Piper's gone past them here as if he's standing still.
And this is the fast part down into O'Connell Street past the Ambassador Cinema, and he's looking around. He must really consolidate his lead at this stage, and Piper really struggling at this stage, and in fact the story behind is that the group seem to be catching up again.
Well, Piper may well have spotted something there which we haven't seen, because he keeps looking round here, and I'm wondering if in fact that's Sean Yates. Sean Yates has made contact again. Now how on earth Sean Yates did that, I never know, but it looks to me as though at least some of those original 5 riders are now back up with Alan Piper as they're again coming down O'Connell Street. Well, that is an amazing recovery, and Alan Piper's heart must have dropped into his boots there when he looked over his shoulder and has seen Sean Yates come right back into the action.
And no worse man than Sean Yates as far as Piper is concerned, because he is extremely strong.
Well, that's Yates now, certainly on the outside, and it's Pascal Poisson on the left, but Piper's going again. Alan Piper goes again. He's given them no chance to recover, and Piper on the attack again. Is there no holding this man today? He's been in the lead from 29 miles out, and he's still finding the legs to go again with 2 laps to go to the finish.
Yes, let's just remember that he's already won one of those Hoth climbs, and that must have taken a lot out of him. But to go again so quickly when he looked to be suffering, it's quite an amazing performance. Can he possibly stick out the 2 laps now?
Well, this time Alan Piper is making a little bit of ground. He keeps stunning the riders in this breakaway. He certainly deserves to pull off the lone victory if he can now, with just a couple of miles to go around the city of Dublin, which is on fete here today now, celebrating 1,000 years, and all Alan Piper wants to do is celebrate one single stage win in the Nissan Classic. The gap now beginning to open, and maybe the double blow is proving too much for the men who are chasing behind. Still in that group, Pascal Poisson, Sean Yates, John Carlson and Paul Kimmage. They're all now in that group, and they are only just a matter of 2 or 3 seconds behind Alan Piper.
And he's really having to work at it. Now, this is where it happened the last time. He's up at the top of Parnell Square, just going past the part where the Nissan Classic started 5 days ago, and it was in the downhill section that the bunch suddenly swallowed him up the last time. He can't feel secure. He doesn't look secure. He's looking around to see where they are.
So Piper now looking even underneath his legs there to see if there's any signs of wheels coming up on him rather quickly, because a lap and a half to go to the finish. Piper, I don't think, will live to fight another day now if they pull him back. He really is riding strongly today, and you've got to take your hat off to him, because he's stolen the thunder of Paul Kimmage from Dublin. Kimmage, who's been cheered all the way round this course today, and cheered, we thought, possibly to victory, especially when that breakaway was strengthened by the arrival of Sean Yates and John Carlson, but not to be. Alan Piper has jumped away, and he's now trying to go home, and he's making an effort here that you don't often see. A marvellous picture of Alan Piper, a study in motion from the mobile camera, Alan.
And behind him still that group, Yates, Poisson, we've got John Carlson, and we've got Paul Kimmage still in there, to the delight of these Dublin people.
Well, I wonder if Paul Kimmage can actually get himself a good position, but the sprint going to be in just over 1 lap's time now. Alan Piper is still going clear. A ride indeed today, because the race opened with a very fast pace, and eventually 3 men went clear as they went out towards the north of Dublin. And those 3 men, Alan Piper was one who was doing a lot of work, so too Paul Kimmage, and so too the Frenchman Pascal Poisson. 1 lap to go, the bell rings now. Piper just has 1 circuit of the city of Dublin for victory. It is by no means certain at the moment. The gap there at the line was just 7 seconds, so the field, or not the field, but the 4 chasers are right on his heels. There's absolutely no room for error, no room to overshoot. If you look in the distance there, you can see the chasing group behind the Chief Commissaire's car.
And once again, he must suffer up around Parnell Square, this time for the last time. With the cheering crowds, that'll probably drive the Australian on. There we could just get a glimpse of the following bunch behind him. But he's now well clear, more so than he was on the last lap. And once again, he glanced back there as he came up the hill to see where his pursuers are. It must be a slight relief to him now that he doesn't see them just as close as they were on the last lap. Up he gets, onto the pedals again.
But this is now surely for the last time for Alan Piper. He's not very far from home. And I certainly no more time to look round, Alan. That's right, prove me wrong, as Alan looks over his shoulder now to see the group going a little bit further back into the distance. And I don't think he even dare think now of what might be in a matter of 30 seconds or so, because the field are chasing him all the way home. Great ride for a great rider, and there's no doubt about that. Alan Piper shortly to go back home to Belgium, then flying off to his place of birth, Melbourne, and what will be now sunny Australia, of course, as that nation goes into its summer. So Alan Piper now, all that will be left for him very shortly, because the race behind totally committed and not coming up anymore now. The gap officially 8 seconds, and Piper, I think, Alan, is going to win this one.
Just got to go around the hairpin at the end here at O'Connell's Bridge. It's quite a slow hairpin, and it requires a fair old drag out of it, because you've got to get onto those pedals, get her up through the gears. And here he comes on the speed as he shoots down O'Connell Street for the last time. We can see it is clear behind him this time. Now he uses all the course right out to the right to take a good clean sweep around the hairpin, and very shortly victory will be in sight on his first stage win on this year's Nissan. A marvellous achievement it's going to be for the Australian.
So Alan Piper, one final look over his shoulder. It's all right now, though, Alan. You can sit down very soon and wave to the crowd, because this is going to be your stage now in the city of Dublin this afternoon. A great victory for Alan Piper. He'll cherish this one for many, many years. Piper crosses the line. And in the battle now for second place, it looks to me as though Pascal Poisson of Toshiba is over the line just ahead of Sean Yates, and 5 seconds the gap. John Carlson will be fourth. Paul Kimmage comes home in an excellent fifth place. But it looks here on the back of the circuit, in fact, that the bunch have been slowed down by the public, who think the race is over, it appears to me, and the possibility now of some confusion because the main field is coming to a halt. Well, on the other side of the circuit now, this is the main field finishing. It's a tight sprint, and remember, this only for 12th place, but what an important sprint. Adrie van der Poel in the white. If he wins this sprint and takes it over from Phil Anderson in the green, Anderson will lose his points jersey. Anderson must beat van der Poel for the green jersey, and on the line it's going to be, I think, Adrie van der Poel takes 12th place. Anderson pipped in 13th. Rolf Goltz now, no doubt about the man who's won this race. The yellow jersey is on the shoulders of Rolf Goltz. He'll be the winner of the Nissan Classic. Let's have a look again in slow motion at that finish and just see if Van der Poel did in fact get the all-important 12th place sprint. And as they come up here towards the line, Van der Poel then on the line. Phil Anderson is second. He won't be happy about that, because I think there was one or two problems around the back of the circuit. But there was no doubt for many people here in Dublin today, the star of the day was certainly Paul Kimmage, and Michael Lester has now managed to dig him out of the crowd. So let's go down to Michael speaking to Paul.
Yes, Paul Kimmage, we saw more of you perhaps than anybody else on television today. Your sponsors at least will be very happy with you.
Well, I'm sure they will. Today was very, very sentimental for me. Hotel is a hill that I wore out when I was a young fella. I really, really wanted to be up there today. I think in the end that's what really did me, because I did too much work on the hill, because it was very, very sentimental to me, and I was just delighted to be up there.
You did everything but win this stage, Paul. Disappointed?
Of course I'm disappointed, but I was unlucky in that in my breakaway I was with four really, really strong fellas, and you can't get any stronger guys in a peloton than Piper, Yates and Poisson and Carlson. They're animals to ride, and I was a bit unlucky in that I came across four really strong fellas, but sure, that's the way it is.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, sorry for the slight delay. We had to sort all the official prize winners out. It takes a lot of work.
And there's the stage result. Alan Piper, the Australian, taking it. Poisson in second place. Sean Yates third. Kimmage there in fifth, as you can see. Then Wegmuller, who we were all a bit confused about, in sixth. And Goltz in 10th.
It was a good race from your point of view, but a strange race tactically.
No, it wasn't so strange because we knew that we must let go away some riders because I feared of Elliott in the bonifications, and so we wanted to let go away some riders, and it was good for us.
We talked to you as well before the race. Now, you carried the slimmest of leads with that yellow jersey going into today's stage. How did you feel as the race went on? Were you comfortable? Were you happy you could take it?
After the race?
During today's stage?
During? As I have beaten Elliott in the first hotspot, I thought that it was possible to win this day, and so I was quite happy. But it was a difficult situation in the beginning of the race. They went away a group with Elliott, and this was very dangerous for us. I had to go, the last meters I had to go alone to Elliott, and it was good.
Let's put our hands together then for Alan Piper, winner of the final stage.
And there he is, Alan Piper, receiving a tremendous welcome here on the presentation podium, and his nice piece of Waterford crystal there from Tony Kelly, because he really did take the gamble. He's led this race in the 28th mile today with two riders, and in the end found the legs that carried him to the stage victory. And that'll be a nice pennant hanging on his bedroom wall, a rather special one. Now we're looking at the white jersey presentation. There was never any doubt almost from day one who was going to win this. Eric van der Aarden, the best sprinter in the race for the Hotspot Sprint competition. He wins the Nissan Sprint competition this year, and he wins it so well. He's one of the fastest finishers in the world, the winner of Paris-Roubaix, the green jersey winner in the Tour de France, stage winner in the Tour de France, and now the winner of the best sprinter in the Nissan Classic, Eric van der Aarden.
We now move on to the man that flies over the mountains quickest. It hurts everyone else's
And next it should be the presentation of the King of the Mountains, and there's absolutely no doubt about who that's going to go to. Marshal Guyant, who has held the jersey right throughout the entire competition.
And there's the green jersey, the one that's caused the controversy here as far as Phil Anderson is concerned today, because while one Australian on the left is smiling, Alan Piper, the other Australian, Phil Anderson, is rather upset because he led this competition by a single point. Confusion has been rife, but Adrie van der Poel, who has won this green jersey before in the Nissan Classic, wins it again now, and he wins it by being better placed by just one place over Phil Anderson in the finishing sprint. You can't possibly get a closer finish than that for the most consistent sprinter. Adrie van der Poel then finally got his place on the podium here. It wasn't quite the colour he wanted. He wanted yellow, but green will do nicely.
Look at that trophy, isn't it absolutely beautiful? Waterford Glass, who are very much involved in the Nissan as one of their sponsors. That specially created trophy that will be proudly taken back to West Germany by Rolf Goltz, and is certainly well-deserved prize indeed. He really came to the fore yesterday in Cork, and he's managed to retain the yellow that hasn't been the luckiest for some. La Vienne, who sadly wore it on the first day and went out with punctures. The biggest loser of all in many ways in this year's Nissan, Phil Anderson, who wore it into Galway. But the man who wears it finally, and that's the one that counts, is Rolf Goltz from West Germany.
Just clouted the roof with the Waterford Crystal Trophy.
Malcolm Elliott coming through in second, Sean Kelly third, as we can see. Guyant, King of the Mountains, as high as fifth, and Martin Early in sixth. Isn't that good news?
Good result. So the Nissan Classic keeps up its reputation for very, very close finishes, and just 6 seconds in the end for Malcolm Elliott.
And so that brings the curtain down then on the Nissan Cycling Classic for 1988. It's been 5 tough days of cycling. Cycling has seen the riders go across the country to Sligo, to Galway, to Limerick, to Cork, and back here to Dublin for the special Millennium Stage. And at the end of all that, it's West Germany and Rolf Goltz, which has emerged the winner of the 1988 Nissan Cycling Classic. We hope that you've enjoyed the action here from the streets of Dublin today, and from all of us on the Nissan this year, bye-bye to you.